Frank Luna, and welcome to Making Space. Here we celebrate the inspiring stories of the Valley's LGBTQ plus community and their allies. You're tuned into Arizona Barrio Stories, a proud part of the Latino USA TV and Media Network family. Today's guest is a trailblazing Latina performing artist, producer, and creative consultant, and she's a member of the Arizona Barrio Stories familia. She is the subject of today's topic, Carmela Ramirez, the Latina visionary who transformed the Valley's arts and culture. Please welcome Carmela Ramirez. Carmela, thank you for joining us today.
Thank you for having me. I love that introduction.
Oh, I'm glad. Well deserved. Carmela, when you so graciously agreed to appear on the show today, I was so pleased and excited because, as you know, I've been an admirer and fan of yours for a long time.
Thank you.
Now, I know you've done more interviews than you care to remember. And in doing my research for our talk today, I went back over your remarkable career. And if it's okay with you, I'd like to take the audience on a walk through memory lane from your early beginnings up through now.
Okay.
And give a bit of a primer on the amazing rise of Carmela. How does that sound?
That sounds great.
Okay, great. Well, let's start with our first question.
Okay.
Carmela, growing up, your parents had a love for music, which must have been incredible. I read once that they worked at the famous Riverside Ballroom.
They did.
When you were a baby,
See?
no less. How did they inspire you as a young girl?
My parents were very inspirational. They did work at the Riverside. My mom was a hat check girl, and my dad was a bartender. So there was a lot of exposure to a lot of the big orchestras that were coming through Phoenix at the time, and I was the kid that was in a cradle. And, you know, they kept me there while they were working, so I've always had music in the background.
Oh, yeah.
Dad played trumpet, and he sang trios. He had a beautiful falsetto. And my mom was a model and studied nursing and loved music as well. There was always music in the house, especially my dad. He loved big band. He loved mariachi. He loved trios. He loved every kind of music there was. He really loved country, too.
Oh, wow.
So at night, a lot of my evenings, when I should have been in bed, I was listening to my dad's music because he had a shortwave radio, and it picked up San Francisco and other places. And that's where I first started hearing the really big bands and the Latin salsa that was taking place. He used to listen to a guy called Luis Enriquez. He was a disc jockey here on K-Jazz at that time.
Sure.
It was a public broadcasting station. But there was just tons of music and tons of singing, and my dad loved to sing with me, and I loved to sing with him. They were very inspirational. They wanted me to go into theater and music and anything that would be a performing artist, because I think that's what they wanted to do. But it wasn't their time.
Sure.
It wasn't their time.
Wow. So it was all around you.
Oh, yeah. Always.
From the time of being a crib. Oh. Well, in middle school and high school, you fell in love with drawing and painting.
I did.
But acting truly captured your attention.
It was by accident.
While at North High School, you became a bona fide thespian. They started casting you in lead roles. Many school productions. You even started directing and writing school plays.
I did.
Some of which even landed you in front of the principal.
That's true.
Tell me what that was all about, Carmela.
Well, with the principal, I went from Borgate High School to North High School, and it was my last year there. And I didn't know the campus very well or the people. And the principal was very high-strung. She was a güera.
Okay.
And I was doing a lot of theater, and the instructor that I had at the time, her name was Miss Twining. She really inspired me not only to act, but to take control of my space and, you know, feature myself as an artist and start to write more and interpret what I was seeing so I could put it on the stage.
Sure.
So at that time, there was a movie called Guess Who's Coming to Dinner?
Oh, yeah.
With Sidney Poitier.
Sure. I remember that.
And it was, you know, the topic was black and white. So I wrote a script of it for my school for a play.
Sure.
And it was based on the movie. And she was pretty upset about it because it was, biracial and the whole bit. She called me into her office. She goes, "Why do you think you need to do stuff like this? There's lots of plays you can perform." I said, "Because it's what's really true. And that's what I feel as an artist. And if I can bring it out there, I want to do that." And that's when I first realized, honestly, that I had the power to do that, as an artist. I was growing very, very fast. But yeah.
So the arts advocate was born.
Very much so. And I think I started realizing the power of the arts at a very, very young age. I could see it. I could see it when people were performing. For example, when I was 7 years old, I remember being at Harmon Park and watching the Pete Bugarin band. And there was a lady by the name of Mary Lou Soto who sang with them. And they were on the stage and they were singing, but they were also giving messages. Slight messages. I remember that. Yeah, and it made me think, wow, you can be up there and say almost whatever you want to say.
Absolutely.
Because people are waiting for you to say something.
Yeah.
So, yeah, it started very early for me.
Now, and you mentioned the Bugarin family, that tied to the La Piñata restaurant.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes, it was. It was, yeah.
Yeah.
They were like the Power Drive band of now.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. A lot of history there.
I grew up listening. I went to every fiesta I could, and my parents took me everywhere. I mean, if they were going bar hopping, I was going with them.
Well, talking about fiesta reminds me of something else that I read, Fiestas Patrias. Your mom got you involved in that.
My mom got me involved in that in 1969. She wanted me to be queen. She put me in this beauty contest y todo eso.
And you did.
I became queen that year. Yeah.
La Reina.
It was a big deal.
Yeah. And she went all out with the dress too, didn't she?
She made it. She made it for me.
Awesome.
A beautiful purple velvet dress. I'll never forget it.
Oh, that's wonderful, Carmela. Yeah. This shut off on me. In the early 1970s, you attended Phoenix College on a drama scholarship. So talk about the acting. You studied acting under John Paul.
I did.
Who we both know, a well-respected drama professor at the time across college and university circles. You discovered that you had an immense vocal talent and skill for musical theater.
I wouldn't say it was immense, but I knew I had a talent to sing. I'm still growing as a singer.
There was a lot of people that were quoted saying that you did at the time.
Well, under John Paul, I did some great theater. A very challenging time. Being that I was Mexican, and I was in the drama club there, and we were doing plays, I was the only Mexican of all the cast, and I was playing white roles. Like Mael Ayul in To Kill a Mockingbird.
Right.
Stuff like that. But, in discussing with John Paul, he said, it doesn't matter your color or who you are. What matters is the artist and what you're going to put across.
Exactly.
And how much you can bring this audience into what you're doing. So he taught me quite a bit. He also had me study psychology so that I could get better entwined into the emotions that are happening when people are acting. And it really helped a lot.
And those who remember John Paul, that is something he would do.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Now, Carmela, that also kind of signaled a turning point in your life and career.
I've had lots of them.
But in particular, with the musical theater.
See, well, I started doing musical theater at PC. Some very classic musicals. And I was mostly assigned, side roles. Then finally I had a lead role. I wasn't a great singer, but I was a good singer, and I realized that I could cross over from the drama and comedy into musical theater. But the more I did musical theater, the more I realized I wanted to sing in a band. And my boyfriend at the time was a bass player. He was out of Fatima Church, and he was there with Gumby, and they had a great band and whatnot, and asked me to sing for their band. And so I thought, well, why not? And I tried it, and I loved it. I think that being an actor first really taught me how to entertain and how to talk to an audience, which is a difficult thing to do. A lot of people sing, but they don't say any words on stage.
Right.
Part of my persona, I think, and the music that I interpret is that I give the people to experience it with me, the history of the music. I can have them relax as I'm delivering, what I think that they want to hear. But I pride myself with being an entertainer.
Right.
an entertainer. So I can sing, I can act, I can do whatever, but I am an entertainer.
And that's one of the beautiful things about your reputation and your shows. There's no downtime. You know,
That's true.
in between the sets and the songs.
See,
You know, and you're right about that.
Yeah.
As an entertainer,
right.
you can see that you're a performer.
Thank you.
You know, a showwoman, and that's what makes your show so wonderful.
Well, I appreciate that. Thank you.
As your studies at Phoenix College wound down and your vocal talents matured, you became the lead singer of an old high school sweethearts band, who you
Right.
mentioned. And you were soon opening for national headliners like Tina Turner, who I have loved for years,
Me too.
B.B. King, Melissa Manchester, Herbie Martin. What was it like, Carmela, to be on the same bill as these musical legends? Did you ever get to actually meet and interact with any of them?
Yes and no. Yes, I never got to really talk to Tina Turner in person.
Yeah.
And that was just singing backup, and that was a fluke because they called on us, a couple of background singers, because her singers, I think, were arriving late. They were coming to Phoenix on a bus, and they weren't there. And the show was at a place called Swing City on Indian School. So we went and did that, and it was the most amazing thing ever because I'm a big Tina Turner fan.
Oh, yeah.
And as far as the others, I've performed with some really, really big names, and it's just always astounded me that I could be on the same bill, or get to meet them and ask them, how their career is going. It was great. Yeah. Very, very honored by all of that.
Yeah, it's just amazing. Well, I am not even, well, I'm just about halfway through with the questions.
Oh, okay.
Would you stick around for another segment, Carmela?
I absolutely
We
will,
haven't
of
even
course.
addressed your time with the city of Phoenix, which is legendary, and Carmela Mas. And we have to talk about Latina Divinas too.
Okay.
Got to get that in there. So, folks, Carmela's agreed to stay, so we're going to have one more segment. So thank you for joining us for this segment. So we will be back and join us on the next segment of Making Space with Arizona Bias Stories. Thanks.